Colombia President Gustavo Petro is teaching Donald Trump a lesson and also showing the rest of Latin America how to stand up to a bully. I'm Michael Popak. You're on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a minute and help continue to build our audience. Gustavo Petro, listen, he is a forceful, he is a slightly erratic, he is a charismatic leader who uses social media in order to whip up his constituency. Sound familiar? Now, if Donald Trump thought he was going to pick a fight in Latin America and try to out Macho, the leaders there, including Claudius Sheinbaum in Mexico, he's had another thing coming. I look at Gustavo Petro's response to Donald Trump trying to force him to take undocumented Colombians back into the country. The mainstream media reported it as, Colombia president capitulates and bends over for Donald Trump with threat of tariffs. That's not the way I read it. In fact, if you get into the weeds and you stay focused on the story for more than half a minute, you will find that Gustavo Petro wrote some pretty scathing criticisms on his social media posts. Sure, they were in Spanish, but they can be translated against Donald Trump, including a not-so-veiled reference to Donald Trump's dead brother who died from alcoholism. Let me break it all down for you. Again, I don't understand mainstream media. The headline was, Colombia capitulates to Trump because of threat of 25% tariff unless. No. Let me read to you from the social media posts of the Colombian president, and you tell me who won this battle. Let me just frame it for a minute. Trump wanted to send military transport, U.S. military transport planes to Colombia filled with undocumented Colombians. Gustavo Petro, the president, didn't like the look of that and certainly didn't want to be greeting some of these people, including some that may be criminals or that were involved in the slave trade or the immigration trade on the tarmac. So he said, I'll send my plane. I'll send the presidential plane to pick up who I want. Trump said, no, you got to take these 2 military transports or I'm going to hit you with 25% tariff. Gustavo Petro said, I'm going to hit you with a tariff. And then he had these choice words to say about Donald Trump. Okay. He said, and I quote, Trump, I don't really like traveling to the U.S. It's a little boring, but I confess that there are some commendable things. Now here's where he starts trolling Trump. I like going to the black neighborhoods of Washington where I saw an entire fight in the U.S. Capitol between blacks and Latinos with barricades, which seemed like nonsense to me because they should join together. I confess that I like Walt Whitman, Paul Simon, and Noam Chomsky and Miller, he said. And then he went on to say, I don't like your oil, Trump. This is all in a media post while the media is reporting that Trump is getting the better of this guy. I don't like your oil, Trump. You're going to wipe out the human species because of greed. Maybe one day, over a glass of whiskey. Oh, here we go. Here's the side reference to Donald Trump's dead brother from alcoholism. Maybe one day over a glass of whiskey, which I accept despite my gastritis. We can talk frankly about this, but it's difficult because you consider me an inferior race, and I'm not, nor is any Colombian. Let me stop right there for a minute. Donald Trump famously is a teetotaler. He doesn't drink. So he can't blame any of his criminal conduct or sexual assaults on women on being drunk or inebriated because he never is, unless he's high on too many Diet Cokes because that's all he drinks. And the reason for that, apparently, in his own memoir and his own mythology, is that he lost a brother. He lost a brother to alcoholism and swore off alcoholism ever since. And so it's pretty well known that he's a huge Diet Coke drinker and doesn't drink alcohol. So I don't think it was a slip of the fingers on the keyboard when Gustavo Petro from Colombia said, let's have a glass of whiskey together. I'd be like, I mean, that's a pretty good troll if you ask me. So he goes on just to show you again, don't pick on Latin American leaders in front of their own people. So he goes on to tell Trump in his social media post, in Spanish, but translated, so if you know someone who is stubborn, that's me, period. You can try to carry out a coup with your economic strength and your arrogance, like they did with Aleda, but I will die in my law. I resisted torture and I resist you. I don't want slavers next to Colombia, who already had many, and we freed ourselves. Petro went on to call Colombia the heart of the world. He said, you kill me, Trump, but I will survive in my people, which is before yours in the Americas, meaning they were there first. We are peoples of the wind, the mountains, the Caribbean Sea, and of freedom. Finally, he said, and this is where the battle came in. This is where the press got bored and stopped reporting because it looked like, well, he's sending a presidential plane to pick things up. No, there were a couple of military planes that he diverted to Brazil, Petro. He did not want to shake hands with slavers on the tarmac. And that's a reference not to the Colombians coming off, but to the U.S. people and Trump in particular. He said, he does not shake hands with white slavers. I shake hands with the white libertarian heirs of Lincoln and the black and white farm boys of the USA, and whose graves I cried and prayed on a battlefield while I reached after walking the mountains of Italian Tuscany and after being saved from COVID. All right there. So what I despise about mainstream media is their lack of attention span and therefore their misinformation that they deliver to the public. That I just gave you the full story. And this is a blueprint for other leaders in Central and South America and in other places. All Donald Trump's erratic bullying behavior is doing is driving our allies in countries in our region, particularly, into the arms of the Chinese. Why? Because by retaliating against these groups of people with and creating an economic tariff war, it has one of two effects, and every economist will tell you this. It is galvanizing opposition to the United States and joining together all of these people to form an economic union to leverage and look for an alternative to the United States. That's one. And that's not good for our economy. And that's not good for the world economy. Two, it gives the opening the Chinese have been looking for to expand their empire through infrastructure investment and dollars invested in Central, South America, Latin America, Caribbean, and the like. If Donald Trump ever traveled, which he doesn't, he hates travel, unless there's a golf course opening that he needs to go to. If he ever traveled, like I did, he would see throughout the Caribbean, Latin America, and South America, infrastructure projects, new roads, new bridges, new tunnels, new power plants, new ports, all being built with Chinese money, all being built by the Chinese. Why? Because they want to have a sphere of influence in North America and in South America to counterbalance the United States. And we're giving them that opportunity. And those countries who are generally poor, except for the tourist regions, are taking it willingly. And I don't blame them. We ignored, both Democrats and Republican administrations, ignored those regions for too long, took them for granted for too long. Same thing happened on the African continent. We ignored the African continent and we drove them into the hands of the Russians and the Chinese. You just watch FIFA, just watch soccer and see how Europe and China and Russia have embraced Africa and are helping them build their stadiums, their roads, bring them in from the third world to the second world and the like. And that's all that we're going to see in 4 years of Donald Trump's America First, retaliatory tariffs, erratic behavior, roiling the global economy. I mean, I said after the first week, I'm going to do a new show here on Legal AF called Financial Markets Monday about how the financial markets are responding resoundingly, renouncing Donald Trump. Cryptocurrency markets now in freefall. Anything related to artificial intelligence and technology because of the Chinese and what we'll refer to as their Sputnik moment, where they out-AI'd America overnight with a startup, leading to $1 trillion with a T, $1 trillion being shed from our markets, our financial markets in technology. Yeah, there's a reason for that because Donald Trump is so wrapped up in conflicts, economic conflicts, because of his own business investments and his own business interests in oil, in big fossil, in big AI, in big crypto, that he's not making proper decisions for the American people. It's obvious. Whoever bought Donald Trump is seeing their policies implemented, but that doesn't mean that that is a fair assessment by an independent-minded president who's not beholden to special interests. This is the special interest economy, world economy, and we're watching the world react to it. I applaud, not his politics. I'm not going to get into his politics. I'm not Colombian. I don't live in Colombia. I'm just talking about the blueprint for how to stand up to a bully. Stand up to a bully by punching him in the nose at the bus stop and stealing his lunch money. It's like the old movie trope. You get sentenced, unfortunately, to prison. The first thing you do, especially if you're slight of stature, is you go find the biggest, toughest guy you can find, punch him in the face or shiv him in the side, and they'll leave you alone for the rest of your stay. Sort of like what's got to happen here. And that's what we're watching. Look at Claudia Sheinbaum, her own version of Nancy Pelosi standing up to Donald Trump. The only person in recent American politics that Donald Trump didn't try to nickname and undermine and had a healthy dose of respect for was Nancy Pelosi. It is Nancy Pelosi. And Claudia Sheinbaum, a student of history, a student of politics, a student of American government, knew that. And that's her own persona anyway. And so she's leading the charge with other people like the Colombian president. We have now Mexico, we have now Colombia, we see Brazil doing the exact same thing, Canada, and we're getting squeezed now by Latin America and Canada above. Total law of unintended consequences, courtesy of one Donald Trump. I'll continue to follow it all. I'm glad you're here. Now's the time for us to do a major push towards 500,000 subscribers. We're almost there. Another month will do it. It's all free. Hit the free subscribe button. Follow me, Michael Popak, in a number of ways. Here, I curate the Legal AF channel along with a half a dozen other contributors. I got another 6 or 8 that I'm talking to bring them on and onboard them for this year. I think you're going to be very happy with the new content that we're going to be getting from new content providers. In addition, on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, or Legal AF on Midas Touch, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, catch us on the Midas Touch YouTube channel for our original top 10 in the world Legal AF YouTube podcast, and then wherever you pick up podcasts, whatever platform you pick them up from. Sorry, I don't know why I'm tongue-tied this morning. Then, secondly, Popak Live Tuesday nights, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the Midas Touch Network. 45 minutes or so of me. It's like Jimmy Kimmel Live without the Jimmy. I don't pull punches. I take questions. I give answers. I don't take prisoners. Popak Live Tuesday nights on the Midas Touch Network. Until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popak. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.